Today's model is called the transition curve, and this was developed by Kubler-Ross, who were two occupational psychologists who were trying to understand the stages of psychological reaction that people go through whenever they have to deal with a major life-changing event. Originally it was used in the context of bereavement counselling. And what they discovered was that there are a predictable set of psychological reactions that tend to kick in whenever people undertake a major life trauma or upset. So whether it's losing your job or being made redundant, whether it's going through a separation or divorce, whether it's a bereavement, whether it's a major reorganization of your department or company. But when any of those events happen, this process becomes quite discernible. So how does the transition curve work? Well, the first stage, or the first set of psychological reactions, is around immobilization. So whenever this major event happens, usually people's first reaction is one of shock and kind of disbelief, and that's followed by a sort of denial of change, like, I can't believe this is all happening to me. At some point the penny drops and people then move on to the third stage, which is incompetence. So at that point people are feeling demotivated, demoralized, upset, they're grieving in some way, and then they're being fairly unproductive and inefficient and ineffective. At some point they will begin to come to terms with the changes, and this is the letting go phase. So at that point what will happen is the person will begin to say, okay, need to make the best of this situation, and from that point on they begin to test out the new context, the new situation, search for meaning, try to make sense of the experience and integrate it into their repertoire of past experiences so that they can sort of come to terms with the changes. So how does this work in terms of being used as a practical tool? Well, my experience of using it in change workshops is that it can be very useful for teams to think about, okay, we're going through this massive upheaval, these major changes, where am I in this process? And to get each team member to come up and talk about, well, I'm in stage 3 or 4 or 5, and what that feels like for them. And it can be really powerful for the team, because the team can then say, okay, so I realise Sally needs help in this area, or John's struggling with this aspect of the change. And it also helps the team leaders and line managers to get a much better sense of what they need to do to provide the necessary support. So, very practical model, massively important and helpful for any major change program.